What is up, everyone? Man, happy Wednesday. I'm glad we just started on time because I'm laughing and I should not be laughing as hard as I was. But how you guys doing? Will, how you doing, sir? You got your red shirt on. We're
Good,
talking
that's right.
about the Atlanta Hawks.
That's right.
You said it's the only red shirt you own?
One of the very few. I have a Braves shirt, but I didn't feel it was appropriate since we're talking about the Hawks. And I saw your tweet earlier, so I think I gotta reference that. But yeah, being the big Auburn guy I am, I don't own a lot of red, so it's limited. This is what you get.
Hey, that's completely fine. No big deal. We'll be okay with that for today. Ralph, how you doing, sir? The rain is coming down. We're hoping the internet stays with us, but how you doing on this fine evening?
I'm doing well, Bryce. It's been a pretty easy day so far. Work was well this morning, and we just enjoy our day.
Ralph, you sound like a 75-year-old man. I've been doing pretty well, Bryce. It's been real good. But no, we do appreciate everyone tuning in. If you're over on Facebook, I know we got some viewers over there. Not TikTok, Twitter and YouTube. We
have a TikTok, but you don't know what the password is.
I don't know what the password is. I can't get back into it. That's the beautiful part of it. But hey, we're going to be talking all about the Atlanta Hawks. Man, what a run. We've kind of beat a dead horse with the Atlanta Braves at this point. And they're well on their way to becoming a dead horse at this juncture in the season. We'll see. Hopefully not. We got to be positive. But hey, I did tweet last night. I want to get your guys' thoughts on my tweet from last night. I know Ralph saw it. Will, I don't know if you saw it, but if the Braves have to be the sacrificial lamb for the Atlanta Hawks to win the NBA Finals for one season, how do you feel about that? I'll go to Ralph second, but Will, I hadn't heard from you on that. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, I'm not a huge NBA guy, but I'll take it, especially with how things have gone. We're almost halfway through the MLB season, and the Braves looks like they didn't show up to play this year. So I'll take it, especially at this point.
Ralph, for you, both franchises, aside from 2020 and 2021, the season that we've seen from Atlanta, and then now this year for the Braves, both franchises have a very bright future. So for one season to be taken away from the Braves necessarily to look to look and see what this team can do this year, would you take it? Would you put that in your back pocket and say, I'll take an NBA Finals and then let the Braves roll into the next season and continue to see what they can do?
I was saying the same thing during the series one against the Knicks. If the Braves have to fail this year for the Hawks to win it all, I'm fine with it because and honestly, it's okay because the Braves had so many injuries this year and a lot of setbacks, so it wouldn't be shocking, but it wouldn't hurt my feelings. So,
well, we're going to head right into it. Will, you said somebody didn't show up, and the team that did not show up in the early portion of last night's Game 4 matchup was the Milwaukee Bucks. We can talk about the injury, talk about that, but I want to get a feel for this. Ralph, I'll start with you, then I'll go to Will. Is this Game 4, was this more of what was this game more about? Bashing the Bucks or just hats off to the Hawks right here? I mean, when you feel like, what does this game more represent? What do we get from this game, Ralph?
I mean, I said it to you earlier. I think it's hats off to the Hawks. I mean, you're down your best player beginning of the game. You know he's not playing. You got to send all your guys in there. And I think Nate McMillan said it before the game was you got to go out there and play your best game tonight, guys. It's not one person against everybody else. It's all y'all against their team. You got to go out there and play your best. And I think everyone took that. I think, you look at some of the guys on the team who hadn't played a lot. Like Cam Reddish stepped up. He played 23 minutes and he hadn't played a single game in for like a month and a half. And he had the best game of his entire career last night. I mean, a lot of guys stepped up when they needed it to. They played an excellent game. Honestly, it showed you they didn't need Trey last night. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying we don't need Trey the rest of the series, but having Trey come back whenever he does, if he plays tomorrow night, or they limit him tomorrow, and we'll get on that later on. But this team can function without Trey.
Yeah, they showed last night, Ralph, like you said, the ability. This is no longer what 2 years ago it kind of felt like just a one-dimensional team. Will, for you, do you feel like this was more about the Hawks, or do you feel like this is more about the Bucks? What stood out to you in Game 4?
The Bucks, without a doubt. I disagree with Ralph. Trae Young was out. I mean, this was prime opportunity for the Bucks to take advantage and go up 3-1, and they just came out flat. Giannis airballing threes early in the game, and he's not even a good shooter. Why is he settling for threes when the Hawks are gonna? Really, without Trae Young, they're gonna. It's like they're playing from behind from the tip. Mm-hmm. Why is he not playing to his strengths? They ended up having a solid game from Drew Holiday and Khris Middleton. They were both scoring in the teens, and of course, losing Giannis in the second half hurt them big time. Is going to hurt them the rest of the series. But it's bashing the Bucks without a doubt. They got off to a horrific start in a game that they should have. The score should have been flipped the other way. The Bucks probably should have won this game by about 30, but they came out flat. They came out unprepared. They flat out weren't ready to play. But I'm bashing the Bucks, but I got to give credit to the Hawks because they took advantage of that slow start and rode it all the way through and got help. And they came out after the injury and were hot after that and took the game. So hats off to them. But to me, it's more about the Bucks and their inability to come out of the gate strong against a weak Atlanta team last night.
Yeah, I'll echo the sentiment with you and kind of sit in the middle between you two guys because I think we learned a lot about the Hawks, and they are not just a one-dimensional through Trae Young. Kevin Huerter can straight up ball. I mean, he's just a baller. He can go and get a bucket. Bogdanovich, he seemingly found his stroke. 4 3-pointers in the third quarter was fantastic. But like what you said, Will, this was an opportunity, and I love watching inside the NBA. They get a lot of flack. We talked about this on Monday. But Charles Barkley said it best. Him and Kenny sitting over there on the side, they said, we're going to know in the first quarter who's going to win this game. And what exactly happened? Who won the game? You could tell the Hawks came out with the energy. They got on a quick run. And I think it's just, I think it's tough to see from a Bucks perspective. Like you said, you had everything in front of you. Their star is out. You have the opportunity to put them down and out early, and you want to keep the crowd out of it. But I think it's a mix of both things. And I like what both of you said because you brought the differing opinions there because you're able to see, hey, both of these teams are talented. Atlanta, to me, and we're going to talk about it, Atlanta has more of a killer instinct than Milwaukee does right now. And I think that starts at a leadership down from Bud down that they just were not ready to play. That brings me into the next topic, Will, of the preparation. Man, Nate McMillan continues to shine right now. The preparation that he had across the entire roster, I think we've talked about Atlanta's depth a little bit. They were all ready to play. Ralph, I know you pointed out that you really saw a lot. And you add in a guy in Cam Reddish who, he was the 10th overall pick a couple years back. He's battled some injuries, has not played since February. And although you weren't expecting to get a ton from him scoring-wise, he chipped in with some points. But, man, the way he played defense, I think they just disrupted. And, Ralph, you talked about, just McMillan's done a fantastic job matching up against this Bucs squad.
Well, yeah, even with Reddish, Okongwu especially had a huge game last night. He played 15 minutes, but, he was 3 for 3 from the field, had 7 points. His defense was incredible. I think he matched up pretty well when he was on the court. Obviously, there's no one more athletic than Giannis in the league at his size. I think the only person who can probably guard Giannis one-on-one is Joel Embiid, and obviously he's out of the series. But I think what Nate McMillan did last night was play everyone who could play. I think everyone had a chance to play last night. Everyone stepped up when they were in the game. If you look at the box scores at the end of the game, you can see people who did not play because of coach's decision or injury. After the first few series and playoffs, you would see maybe 4 or 5 guys on the bench play for the Hawks, but I think everyone played last night that could play, honestly. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Trae was injured, but then I think Solomon Hill was the only one who did not play. But McMillan played everybody because everyone needed to be out there and contribute somehow, and I think everyone did when they were out there.
Yeah, you talked about the guard depth. The thing for me was, Lou Williams. And I think when you see what Lou Williams did, this is a guy, he's a 3-time Sixth Man of the Year award winner, Will. The preparation, I don't know if you saw the quote. He just said that he came in on the trainer's table and said, hey, Trae's out tonight, Lou's starting. It wasn't a big rah-rah. It wasn't a big remember the Titans moment. But I think you have to admire what McMillan's done with this team and just they believe. I'll say this. Mm-hmm. With everybody healthy, Milwaukee on paper, and I know that's why you play the games, they're the more talented team. This series should have been over maybe 5, maybe 6. But Atlanta right now, we talked about it with the Eastern Conference semis with Philadelphia, Will. We've talked about it kind of this. Every time you feel like you're ready to count them out, it's just something that clicks. They really believe this time of year, and they're executing very well.
Yeah, Nate McMillan, he's been a long-time assistant in the NBA. I know he's the head coach of the Pacers, and that didn't work out how he liked it. And I'm not a Nate McMillan expert. I'm not an NBA expert. I'm not going to try to be. I don't know what other head coaching jobs he had, but I know he's been around the league for a long time, and it's showing. That experience is showing. He's been an assistant coach in a lot of playoff series, and it's showing. And he's the head man. He's driving this ship, and everybody's following behind him, which is the sign of great leadership. Mm-hmm. And you talked about Lou Williams. I'm gonna shout out Inside the NBA again. This stat from them. I think last night was his 80. I'm probably gonna get it wrong. 87th.
I think you're right. 87, 86, something right there. Yeah.
And it was his first career start in a playoff game, and he went out there and just balled out like he should have been the starter for all 85 other playoff games. You couldn't tell the difference. I know he plays a ton of minutes, but he was excellent. But yeah, hats off Nate McMillan, putting him in the position to be ready. And comparing the two coaches, Mike Budenholzer, he was in Atlanta, did a lot of good things with Atlanta, won 60 games, got them to the Eastern Conference Finals, but he hasn't been great in Milwaukee. He kind of slowed up that series in Atlanta. And just look at him now, looking at him on the sideline, looking at him after the game press conference. I know he's down with Giannis being out, and that took a lot out of him, but he looks lost. Mike Budenholzer looks lost, and that shows through his team that a lot of them look lost. Khris Middleton, he hasn't been able to step up like he has in the past. Atlanta's done a great job defensively against him. He's looking lost. Drew Holiday hasn't had the impact that he's had the first two rounds of the playoffs, which is a surprise because the Hawks defensively at guard, I don't see anybody on the roster that can body him up and can really stop him, but he hasn't been very good. I think really it's been the two coaches.
Yeah. And I think what you said exactly with Budenholzer. I mean, this is a guy, Coach Bud was obviously in Atlanta. They had the 60-win team. But it always kind of felt like, and going back to being a fan in 14 and 15, that 60-win team had a limit because there was no superstar player. And you say, Bryce, well, they had 4 or 5 all-stars. You're completely right. I mean, they were a very good team, very fundamentally very good. But this team just feels different, man. They're just young. And I think what we've talked about is what they don't know is helping them. They don't know to freak out when they're behind by 15 points. It's just this, they're so young. And I'll say this too, we talked about it. They put the foot on the gas pedal. I mean, we're going to talk about Giannis's injury, how that affects the series. But I want to say this, and I want to get y'all's opinion because the momentum of the game continuously felt like it was in Atlanta's favor. Now, Giannis, like you said, Will, I mean, you airball 2 free throws, and then to show that I don't know what it is, you're taking a 30-footer and you airball it completely. I mean, that's not your style. For a team that can really get, honestly, whatever it wants inside the paint and could get a team in Atlanta that doesn't have a ton of experience in the front court in trouble, I don't know why you don't do that. So I say to this, I don't know if his injury altered the momentum that Atlanta had because they were up by double digits when he got out. Now, afterwards, Bogdan Bogdanovic said, I've arrived on the scene here in the Eastern Conference Finals. But for you, Will, and then we'll go back to Ralph, I mean, do you feel like the story obviously today was Giannis's health, but I mean, I think you have to give Atlanta credit because they showed up when I think Milwaukee overlooked them coming in.
Yeah, 100%. Coming out of the halftime break, Milwaukee had a little bit of momentum. Giannis had that big block on Capella. They had a little bit of the momentum. But the Hawks, they kept fighting. They kept fighting. Like you said, the Hawks, they're so young that they don't know to have pressure. They don't recognize the pressure, and that's a great thing. And I think that goes back to Nate McMillan preparing them as well. Bogdan Bogdanovic said it after the game. He said, Coach McMillan believes in defense. They're not great defensively, but defense is all effort, and they go all out all the time. And they're so good offensively, and they know to just keep going after bucket after bucket after bucket. And that's been the difference. But to answer your question, yeah, the Hawks, they had all the momentum. They did a great job staying the course when the Bucks started making some plays, and they just rode it on through to the end.
What they know or what they don't know is definitely on their side right now. Ralph, you and I talked about this a little bit on the phone today, and then I know we texted a little bit about it. But kind of what Will was saying, I mean, the momentum was starting to get there. You were starting to see some pick and roll. Giannis was getting to the basket, but – defensively, Milwaukee has not figured out a way to stop Atlanta. You can't trade. I believe that you're a team that cannot trade buckets with Atlanta. You're going to have to get stops. We saw, even though Giannis and them started to get some momentum, Atlanta had built up that early lead, and Kevin Huerter, Bogdanovic, Gallinari, who's been very good in this series. I mean, this just seems like a game that from start to finish, it was always in control of Atlanta, even when Milwaukee made that run before Giannis's injury.
Well, I think one thing that's been overlooked a little bit is that the crowd was into it last night, and I think when they're making threes and they're hitting shots, they're making plays against this team, they're all in. I mean, the whole stadium's excited. They're getting loud, and when Giannis is out there shooting his free throws and taking 15 to 20 seconds to shoot a free throw, they're counting them down. They're in their head a little bit. It feels like Giannis is off his game a little bit on his free throw, and obviously he's not a very good free throw shooter, but overall, the whole crowd was into the game. I think, they ride that momentum from the crowd, and they can play with it. They get really excited playing in front of that, and in front of their home crowd. And the Hawks can be really dangerous when you're not expecting them to, especially last night when you were expecting them to be down without Trey going at home. Maybe you might have a few guys score a few points, one guy step up maybe, but you have to have the whole team step up, and then. Really, Bogdan hasn't stepped up since game 1 or 2 of the first series this year against the Knicks. I mean, so for Bogdan to step up, for Lou Williams to step up, it felt like this whole momentum shift was really never there. It just felt like it was the Hawks from tip off to the end of the game. It just felt like it was all Hawks tonight or last night. Sorry.
No, it really does. And don't worry, we're not doing it tonight because Ralph would not have been awake for a post-game quick analysis. But exactly what you were saying, and I think we all agree in sentiment. It was Atlanta from tip to halftime, and then you started to see Milwaukee may have something going, but they couldn't stop them offensively. And that begs the question. We're going to talk about Giannis's injury, but where did Khris Middleton go? I mean, this is a guy who he has a track record. Last year in the Disney bubble against the Miami Heat, he would drop 35 plus, and then he's going to have 12. Well, he's been very inconsistent. He's an Olympian. Reggie Miller has made sure to say that on the broadcast at least 15 to 20 times a night. But when you see Khris Middleton, I mean, this is a guy who's supposed to be one of the top scorers in the Eastern Conference. He's an all-star level player. He kind of just went away last night. And I think that's credit to Atlanta's defense, like you were talking, playing, being very active. But they're going to have him. We'll talk about if Giannis returns or not, with whatever happens through the next best of 3 that we have coming up.
Yeah, Khris Middleton 0 for 7 last night from 3. That's not going to cut it. I don't care what team you're on, what level you're at. 0 for 7 from 3. And, we said it before. I've said it before on the show. It's a guard-driven league. Whether point guard or shooting guard, Khris Middleton's a shooting guard. When you're going 0 for 7 from 3 and 6 of 17 for the whole game, you're going to struggle. So he finished with 16, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Pretty good line. But this is not a regular season game. This was game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Your team's up 2-1, and the team you're playing, their best player is out injured. You got to be better than that. You just got to, especially when your star player goes down, you got to be better than that. And, I get it. Khris Middleton, he's kind of the sidekick to Giannis. They don't ask him to step up too often. But like you said, last year in the bubble, he did that, even with Giannis. So everybody knows that it's in him. He's got that capability. He's got that potential, and he's just got to show it. But hats off to Cam Reddish. He shut him down last night.
Cam Reddish, Kevin Huerter, especially after his Game 3 outing where, like we said, he went unconscious on Sunday night. I wanted to point this out, Ralph, because we were talking about some stats. Will threw that one in there. Milwaukee shot 39%, 20 from the field, 20% from the 3. Meanwhile, on Atlanta's side, 50% from the field and about 34% from 3. Not lights out from beyond the 3, but, man, they're making those shots within that 3-point line, Ralph. I mean, this is something where Milwaukee, I mean, you can't have $200 to $300 million tied up in a team that can't score. I mean, this is a different time. If we're talking about we're asking Khris Middleton to get you over the hump against, Kevin Durant and the Nets, or Embiid and Simmons and the Philadelphia or LeBron and the Lakers or some teams out west, we're asking you if you're a Bucks fan, we need you to get past a Trae Youngless Hawks team, and they were unable to do that last night. So, I mean, this is a worrisome thing going into the next couple games. We're going to go to commercial after your answer and talk about that. But what was just kind of your feedback when you look at that box score and see Middleton's final line?
Well, I mean, you said 20% from the 3-point line for the Bucks, but take the number into hand. It's 8 from 39. Now, the night before the last game, they didn't shoot 39 3-pointers, and they were lights out. So what made them change to start shooting more threes and to start taking more aggressive shots toward the beginning of the game? They shot a lot of threes. And Giannis shot 2 threes, he shot 2, I think, and he missed both of them. He shot 1 and airballed it. So why are they shooting so many threes? I have no idea. They are a paint-driven team. They're way too big of a team to be shooting threes. I mean, Middleton, when he's hot, he's hot. But if he can't hit anything, it needs to be. And he was starting to make some good fadeaways. He was driving to the basket, making good points. I don't know what happened to him. If it was just a mental thing for him, if it's he got shut down from Cam Reddish, which Cam Reddish played the best game of his career. I've already said it again.
Yeah.
He's only played probably a handful of games honestly in his career. But Khris Middleton did not step up. He was just following the back of the line. He was in Giannis' shadow, and and all of a sudden, when Giannis goes down, Middleton's in the spotlight, and he just wasn't there. He just kind of walked away from it.
Yeah, it was a tough go for Middleton and the rest of the Bucks offense. When we come back, we're going to have a segment. If Giannis doesn't return, then we're going to have an update on the injury, and then we're going to take a quick look at Game 5 when we come back. But it's for sure going to be a fun series the rest of the way, guys. I think that we're going to see some exciting. And when you get into a 2-2 tie, best of 3 left, and you're going to have some great basketball. But we're going to talk about that when we come back.
Cook's Place began serving our signature hot dogs in 1985 from a cart on Broadway. We still serve the best hot dogs and scrambled dogs in town at the corner of Moon and Miller Road and at the landings. Our friendly staff won't let you leave hungry. Come in and eat to the beat with our 50s jukebox. Cook's Place, fast service, great people, awesome food. What are you waiting for?
We're talking about the Hawks and the Bucks. Game 4 was last night. Game 5 back in Milwaukee on tomorrow evening. And then they'll play Game 6 on Saturday evening, and then Monday night, Game 7 if necessary. Guys, we talked about Giannis. We've talked about his injury. So obviously you saw the injury. It was gruesome. And I'm going to say one thing. From a basketball fan's perspective, I'm glad to see there's no ligament damage. This is one of the best basketball players in the world, 2-time MVP. In the prime of his career at age 26, which is really crazy to think about. He's only 26 years old. But I want to ask this. So, Ralph, and then we'll go to Will. If Giannis doesn't return, which, listen, that's something very hard to come back from. And even if he does return, he's not going to be 100%. But if Giannis doesn't return in this entire series, what happens? And Ralph, you go first.
Well, for one, you gotta find that fill-in spot for Giannis for Game 5 if he does not play. Obviously, he's listed as doubtful right now, so we don't know what's going to happen. But if you're the Bucks right now, you got to feel what's going to happen with you with this. So Bobby Portis is probably your best option. He played. He basically filled in for Giannis. Got 21 minutes in there, 7 points. Obviously, not a huge stat line, but how do you feel in a spot like that? If they don't play Giannis, Atlanta needs to do one thing, and that's one thing only, is attack the rim. Because you don't have that big shot blocker down there and the great defensive player that Giannis is. You need to attack the rim because they don't have an athletic big man. You got to let Bogdan get hot again. If he gets hot again, Bogdan's going to be – it's going to be unreal for the Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
If Trey's playing and Bogdan's out there and Capella's able to play, it's an unreal trio for those two. Those three to be stopped, honestly. If you watch the Knicks series, the beginning of the series, Capella, Trey, and Bogdan were unreal. They were lights out. They were – Trey was passing off to everyone. It was incredible. But one more thing I want to say is that Giannis's younger brother plays for the Bucks. Now he is nowhere close compared to what Giannis is. He could play and he could be that fill-in spot for the Bucks also. And he hasn't played, I think, maybe 12 minutes the whole entire series. So look to see if another Antetokounmpo gets out there again.
Yeah, I'm just glad you got somewhere close to the name on that.
Gee,
that was good. It's
a hard name, man.
Will, you talked about Drew Holiday. They're going to have to find something else. If Giannis does not return in this series, is this – I would have to say that it leans towards Atlanta, and I put the tweet out there 40 minutes ago, whether Trae Young comes back or not. To me, this Atlanta team, they're gelling. They're playing very well. They showed last night they can win without him. Can they win an NBA Finals without him? I don't know. But for this specific, especially this big road game coming up, and if Giannis doesn't return, how do you feel?
Well, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to go against what I've said all postseason. This series is over, whether Giannis comes back or not. Because if he comes back, he won't be 100%. I've never seen anybody come back from a hyperextended knee in a week and be 100%. So, like you said, the Hawks, they showed they don't need Trae Young. They know how to play without him. They know how to win without him now. Series is over. Hawks are winning the next 2 games, and I have little doubt of that.
Well, I wish that I'm going to get you a button for your birthday, the Charles Barkley guarantee button, and you got to hit it. You got to guaranteed. He's going to win.
I'm guaranteeing the Hawks in 6. I will any and all bettors. I will come find me.
Find them. You can find them at Manus_Will on Twitter. No, and really, I agree with you guys. I mean, if Giannis does not return in this series, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even really trust Giannis in the series. We saw why in Game 4. I mean, the lackadaisical from top to bottom with this team. They have all the talent in the world to win an NBA championship, but the leadership is just not there. Whether that needs to be a head coaching change at the end of this year, I don't know. But they're definitely going to be in the hot seat no matter what happens. And then, like you said, Will, Atlanta showed what they can do without Trae Young. And I'm telling you, the confidence is a sky high. They're playing with house money. What do they have to lose? They didn't think they'd be playing this far. They were going to be playing, pickup games, somewhere or getting ready for next season. I mean, there's no fear for Atlanta. And the big thing, Will, I think, is Milwaukee does not have the killer instinct. They just don't. They don't have it. They had a chance to land a knockout blow last night. They didn't do it. So let's take it to Game 5 preview. Do the Hawks steal a road game, or does Milwaukee protect at home and force a potential Game 7 matchup? I'm going to tell you one thing. If Atlanta wins this and they go back to Game 6, Lou Williams is going to get him some of those lemon pepper wings from Magic City, and Atlanta is going to be rocking for a Game 6 and a trip to go to the NBA Finals for the first time ever. So, Will, walk me through this. Thursday night, Milwaukee still, to me, has all the pressure on them.
Yeah, absolutely. All the pressure is on Milwaukee. It's been on Milwaukee the whole series, and now it's cranked up to 11 since they don't have Giannis. I already said it. The Hawks are going to win this game, and there's a possibility Trae Young could even be back for Game 6. He really wanted to play Game 5, so I don't think the injury, his bone bruise, it's a bone bruise. Obviously, it hurts, but it's not as serious, or he's just got adrenaline pumping nonstop to where he just doesn't even feel it. But, like I said, I don't think the Hawks necessarily need Trae Young to win 2 more games. Mm-hmm. And I'm with you. They win. They're going to go back to a rocking State Farm Arena in Atlanta and win it in 6.
Lemon pepper wings.
If the Hawks are up 3-2, now this is like 100% guarantee. If the Hawks are up 3-2 going back home, they're winning Game 6. That is like 100% guarantee.
Yeah,
my guarantee that they would win the series.
I did say Hawks in 6 now.
He did. Ralph said Hawks in 6. Will change his prediction.
My first guarantee to say the Hawks will win in 6 was only about 90%. The Hawks are up 3-2. They're winning in Game 6, 100%.
Ralph, you talked about it. Will alluded to it. There will probably be a minutes limit on Trae Young because Atlanta showed the ability to win without him. The emergence of Bogdanovich takes a lot off of him offensively. And I also wanted to point this out. We talked about Trae Young's assist numbers. Mm-hmm. Atlanta, as a team last night, had 26 assists. Yeah. So different guys were bringing the ball up the court, and they were able to be successful. So, Ralph, what happens in Game 5? And I know you want to talk a little bit about maybe a minutes limit for Trae Young, especially to make sure he's fully healthy for, like what Will said, a rocking State Farm in Game 6 if Atlanta's up 3-2.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it comes down to Game 6 in Atlanta and it's a 3-2 series lead for Atlanta, Trae Young wants to be there, and he wants to be full on, play the whole game. He wants to be dropping threes from the logo, just getting the crowd hyped and getting them in everything. If you saw him on the sideline during the game, he looked excited. I mean, he looked like he wanted to be out there shooting threes with the guys. But a time limit will be used on him. He'll probably play 20 minutes at most, more than likely in Game 5, depending on if they need him more or not. I said he'll probably start, but Lou Williams will get a lot of care in the minutes just to make sure he's healthy. I mean, the injury was a freak injury enough. I mean, if you watch what happened, it shouldn't have happened in the first place, but it did. And now I want to see Trae fully healthy. And if they win this series, I'd rather him be fully healthy for the next series than him being way more injured than he is right now. If he gets injured again tomorrow night and or Saturday night, God forbid, I would like to see Atlanta do something to make sure that does not happen. So minutes definitely will be limited for Trae.
Yeah, I think Atlanta goes into Milwaukee, and I'm telling you one thing, I don't think Giannis plays this game. I think he's out for the rest of the series. I don't see a situation, and Chris Bosh said it today on ESPN, he had the same injury and he had to miss the rest of the postseason. I mean, we are lucky from a future standpoint, guys, that we're going to have Giannis next season. And that's good for the game of basketball. But for this year, not even that you don't, it's you want to sit Giannis because I understand they care about his long-term health, but Giannis is a competitor. He wants to play. But I mean, there's no way that this guy can drive in the paint and take the physicality of what playoff basketball is, and especially the way, Will, like you were alluding to, how Atlanta's played defensively, and be really effective, or even 75% of the player that he is. And I think that gives credit to Atlanta's depth. We talked about it, McMillan. But before we close the show, I've got to share this with you guys. I don't know if you guys saw it. We're going to have to watch it. Clint Capella and this shot, folks. This is unbelievable. 45-second clip.
Fascinating, man.
Will, have you seen this yet?
I have seen it, yes.
Okay, so this is a little bit of Will's favorite player of all time, Larry Bird-esque, except Larry used to do it and it didn't count. Larry did it.
Listen, when I first saw this shot, Larry Bird didn't even come to mind. I'll tell you who came to mind after we see the shot.
All right, so here's the shot right here.
So Nate McMillan has a starting 5 out there.
Kevin Huerter's a baller, man.
Kayvon Huerter, baby.
He is surrounded. He is
double teamed, then they back off the double team. That was a Kobe Bryant shot right there. That was Kobe Bryant.
Oh boy, hold on now.
That's good.
That was a Kobe Bryant jump shot.
That's good. No, I mean, I'm telling you one thing. When that shot fell, you're like, this game's over. I mean, the momentum is with Atlanta, guys. I'm going to tell you right now, I think Atlanta wins it in 6. If they win on Thursday, we come back Monday, and I'm getting ready for the NBA Finals. I'm throwing the Peachtree jersey on, and we're gonna have a fun-filled week. But listen, we appreciate it. A fantastic show. I know we have some Facebook groups watching, some Atlanta Hawk fan groups watching, so we appreciate that as well. We're in those groups. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And Will, where can they find you to place that bet for that Game 6? Where can they find you?
My Twitter DMs are open at Manus_Will.
Oh my gosh.
We're live with Mr. Manis, but we appreciate everyone tuning in. We will see you once again. Atlanta and Milwaukee will play tomorrow night. And I don't know, guys, we may have to have an emergency show if on Saturday evening or something. If Atlanta does indeed go to their first ever trip to the finals, which is crazy.
That's incredible
for a franchise that really has not been all that good in its history. But they've had some nice runs in the 80s with Dominique, obviously the early 2010s with Budenholzer and the Horford, Millsap. But that's your nickname out on the basketball court.
Also, one more note. We're, like we said, big inside the NBA fans. Charles Barkley before the game suggested the Hawks should start Jeff Teague. Only problem is Jeff Teague is on the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yikes.
Oh, Charles.
In Charles' defense, longtime Hawk, but hasn't been in Atlanta he did come back.
He came back for a short stint. Yeah.
But he plays for Milwaukee, so it's tough to see him starting for Atlanta when he plays for Milwaukee.
Yeah, don't lock that into Will. Don't lock that one in Will. We appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll see you once again. We got a podcast coming out on Friday specifically talking about the Hawks with a 92.9 Game The Reporter. We're going to come out that Friday afternoon. It's going to be a ton of fun. We appreciate it, and I think it's safe to say that we want to see Lemon Pepper Lou in Atlanta come back with a chance. Game 6 in Atlanta. We'll see you later. Everyone